it was said earlier about prayer. We ask for that. And the ongoing support that's needed from our standpoint is to give support in any area that's asked for on the scene. So again, we thank you, and from this point forward, we'll just continue on with our mission and try to bring some type of closure and resolution. Thank you.
I anticipate there will be another briefing at or before 4 o'clock. We will entertain 2 or 3 questions at this moment before these gentlemen have to go back to the scene to continue their work.
Chief, you identified, did you identify the shooter in this case yet?
Yes, we have identified the suspect. It's a 28-year-old female white, actually a Nashvilleian or lives in the Nashville area. We are having an ongoing investigation as it pertains to her at this time.
Located her place of where she lived? You have officers there?
We have.
Was she wearing body armor?
Was she wearing body armor? I can't say that far into the investigation. I don't remember seeing it, but I can't say for certain if she had body armor on or not.
Does she have any connection to the church?
From my initial findings is that at one point she was a student at that school, but unsure what year, all of that. But that's what I've been told so far.
Did she give any word on social media, or has her social media been examined at this point?
The investigations are still going at this point. Our federal partners, our state partners, we're all looking into that to see exactly. This is still fluid at the time, but we're looking at everything.
Did anybody pull the fire alarm? Do we know?
Don't remember a fire alarm going off. I was told there were kids that evacuated into a wood line. They had the presence of mind to do that and to go to a fire hall. Once we arrived on scene, we had everyone moved to First Baptist Church, Woodmont. And that way we could get parents and children reunited and then ultimately make the notification on the 3 kids. So.
Do we know yet if the side door she entered in was locked or not?
There was a door that was entered. All doors were locked to our understanding, and how exactly she got in at this point is still under investigation. There is a vehicle that was nearby that gave us clues as into who she was, and but as stated, that investigation is still ongoing.
Did the school have school shooter protocol?
They did have protocol. To my understanding, we had, unfortunately, 3 kids that were tragically hurt. It could have been far, far worse.
Okay, folks, we'll be back again before 4 o'clock. Okay? Thank you.
You're watching Sky News tonight. It's coming up to 8 o'clock, and we've just been listening in on a press conference there with police officers and local officials in Nashville, Tennessee, where there's been yet another shooting at a school where 3 children and 3 adults have been killed. Police also killed the shooter, who has now been identified as a 28-year-old woman, believed to have been a former student at this private school in Nashville. They ended there saying that it could have been so much worse. Let's bring in our US correspondent, James Matthews, who's been listening in on that too. James, of course, another horrific shooting. President Biden speaking earlier, calling on Congress to ban assault weapons yet again.
Yes, Simon, and yet again, America shrugs its shoulders, I suppose, calls for change, but finds itself in a situation where it's a question of when, not if, circumstances like these will be repeated. This particular shooting happened just south of downtown Nashville in the Concord School. Because of the school's ties to the church, there was no police presence at the time. It's a school that teaches youngsters preschool, around 4, 5, up until 11, 12 years old. 3 youngsters were killed. They've not yet been identified, although their families have been told. And 3 adults, as you say, were also killed. It unfolded, this horror, over 14 minutes. At 10:13 in the morning, police were given the emergency call. They sent a team into the building itself. In the first instance, they cleared the first story. It was in the second story of the building that they engaged with this woman, and that's where she was killed and the shooting stopped. She has been identified, as you say, as a 28-year-old white woman who used to be, they think, a student of this particular institution. She was identified with the help of registration plates on a vehicle that was found nearby, so one assumes she travelled to the school in that particular vehicle. President Biden has spoken in the past 20 minutes, and as you say, he's labelled this sick and heartbreaking in a short statement at the White House. And it could have been far, far worse, as you heard during that short news conference, given the numbers inside the building at that particular time. There are something like 200 students at this particular school, and they were hastily diverted away from trouble the second that the shooting started. So as bad as it was, it could have been much worse. But 3 children died. 3 adults were killed, and others are being treated in hospital for their injuries.
James Matthews, for now, thanks very much indeed. Well, we mentioned a response, of course, from the White House. James just talking about President Biden's statement there, speaking in the last few minutes. Let's listen in on what he had to say.
You know, Ben and I have been doing this our whole careers, it seems. And it's just, it's sick. You know, we're still gathering the facts of what happened and why. And we do know that as of now, there are a number of people who did not make it, including children. It's heartbreaking, a family's worst nightmare. And I want to commend the police who responded incredibly swiftly, within minutes, and the danger. We're monitoring the situation really closely, Ben, as you know, and we have to do more to stop gun violence.
OK, well, as we've said, in the last 10-15 minutes, just before we came to the top of the hour, there was a news conference with the police officers who arrived at the scene representing the first responders who talked us through what happened. Let's listen in for you once again.
All right, this is our second briefing on this active shooter situation. Speaking to you at this point will be Nashville Chief of Police John Drake, the Director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, David Roush, Nashville District Attorney Glenn Funk, and then Nashville Fire Director Chief William Swan. Again, this is the second briefing. There will be other briefings to be held here in the same spot later this afternoon. We'll continue to brief throughout the rest of the day. Chief Drake.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you all for being here on this very unfortunate situation. My heart and prayers go out to the families of the 6 people who were tragically injured. What I know at this point is at 10:13 today, our officers responded to a shots fired call to Covenant School. It's a church school. Officers immediately responded. A team of 5 immediately went in the school, went to where gunshots were being heard, and engaged the suspect. We have identified the suspect right now, tentatively a 28-year-old female white. We know the address of that person as well, and so we have some ongoing investigations as to that. We have 3 adult victims, and we have 3 children who have been identified, and their families have been contacted. Right now, I will refrain from saying the ages, other than to say I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building. I want to say thanks to all of our partners, to the FBI, to the ATF, and other federal partners, to the THP, Tennessee Highway Patrol, the TBI, the District Attorney, and to the Fire Department, who all came together and seamlessly addressed this situation as quickly as possible. I've already gotten requests from the national media about a great response. We're still assessing that as well. But what I can say, and what I've said before, is that whenever I hope that we would never have this situation, that if we ever did, we would not wait. We would immediately go in and we would immediately engage the person perpetrating this horrible crime. And so that's all I can say. Right now we have David Roush, director of the TBI, who will come after me to address his portion. And then we have others that will say something as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Again, I want to echo what Chief has said in reference to the great support and the great teamwork that has been taking place here, and as well as sending our heartfelt prayers to the families, to this community of these victims. Now, I know there'll be people who want to criticize us for prayers, but that's the way we do that in the South, right? We believe in prayer, and we believe in the power of prayer, and so our prayers go out to these families. The role of the TBI in this investigation is we have been asked by General Funk to assist in the officer-involved portion of this incident. So the incident where the officers engaged the suspect, we are assisting the Metro investigation. And the reason we've got Metro doing the primary investigation is because it was a fluid scene. So there wasn't a single stop in the action. And so as they investigate the homicides, then we felt it was most appropriate for them to continue that investigation. But we will assist as in our role as an independent oversight on the officer-involved situation. And so that will be the role of TBI. We, too, want to thank all of our partners. It is special. We've had this conversation, unfortunately, too many times in Tennessee, and that is that you wish you wouldn't have to do these types of scenes. But when you do, you want to have the working relationships that we have in our law enforcement community here in Tennessee. It is amazing. And we've all come together as one and working very tirelessly. And we'll continue to work together to address this situation. It's a horrible, senseless tragedy. And we will be here working with our partners to get through it. And next, I'd like to introduce the District Attorney General for this area, Glenn Funk.
This is the ultimate crime when school children and caregivers are the victims of senseless gun violence. Can't say anything before we first express our concerns for the victims and their families and the extended number of victims that are traumatized by today's events. I came out on the scene today because our current operating procedure is that when an officer is involved in a shooting, that the TBI comes out, and I knew that this was a unique case, and I wanted to make sure that everything was handled appropriately. Director Roush was out here almost at the exact same time I got here, and Chief Drake had already been on the scene for a while. The three of us met and talked about how the investigation was going to be handled. We made a joint decision affirming what the two law enforcement leaders, how they wanted to proceed, which was that Metro was going to handle the bulk of this, but the TBI would participate in a capacity to continue with making sure that we have transparency and everything, and to make sure that any backup that MNPD needs in this continued investigation would be provided. Can't not stress enough how seamlessly that worked to have a conversation and a decision to be made quickly and appropriately as far as how the case was going to be handled from here. Hats off to Chief Drake and to Director Roush. I also want to thank Chief Swan and our federal partners as well. While I cannot comment about the ongoing nature of the investigation, I'm really impressed with the work that's being done by law enforcement.
Yes, good afternoon. First, let me just say, as everyone else, what a tragic day here in Nashville. So our hearts and our prayers do go out to all the family members and also the first responders that actually made this call. As always, the fire department and the Office of Emergency Management, our job is to support. And we were here at the beginning and we'll be here to the end. We just ask that everyone, again, as it was said earlier about prayer, we ask for that. And the ongoing support that's needed from our standpoint is to give support in any area that's asked for on the scene. So again, we thank you, and from this point forward, we'll just continue on with our mission and try to bring some